Hey everybody, here we are. It's my second video for Let's Write a Novel Together. So I hope you are going to be joining me on this. As a little recap from my previous video, I'm starting a new project. This is the method, the process that I'm going to be following for the beginning of putting my book together. For me, Story Genius by Lisa Cron, or Blueprint for a Book by Jenny Nash. They're both very similar approach. For me, these are the best ways to get into a story because it starts with character. It starts with you, actually, the author, and why you're writing this. So if I go to the very beginning of this, one of the first questions, one of the first actions Lisa is asking us to do is to write a couple of paragraphs on the story spark. You know, where did this idea come from? Where was the moment that the rough idea for this story came to you? If you're like me, you've probably had an idea, kind of the subject or the topic or the area that you'd like to explore with your novel. And when it comes to this one that I'm writing, it was the idea of plant medicine that I've just been hearing a lot about recently. So there was that fantastic Leanne Moriarty TV show and book, Nine Perfect Strangers, which I thought was great. I've also know a number of people who have taken part in plant medicine ceremonies and gone to South America to do them. And then recently there was a documentary series. I'm trying to remember now. I think it was called Changing My Mind. And it looked at different alternative therapies to dealing with mental health disorders, looking at psilocybin, looking at LSD, looking at marijuana and MDMA. And it was the MDMA episode in particular where a lady had all of this is controlled, so it's all done professionally, it's all controlled, and she'd gone under this treatment using psychotic drugs to help, and it helped her go back in time to relive the experience that she'd had. And she did. She'd had a very, very traumatic experience, and she went back and she relived it. And in doing so, it then just freed her up. It being able to kind of go back in time, relive it, replace it, reformulate it, recalibrate it in her own brain and her own emotions and understanding, enabled her to then not forget about it, but be able to go on and live a happier life, and to stop being depressed, to stop feeling the way she'd been feeling for decades. So this was really, really transformational for her. And I suddenly thought, wow, if a crime had been committed, if you'd been the victim of a crime and you were able to go back and live this experience like an out-of-body experience and see it as an observer, not a participant, what would that reveal? Not just the emotional and psychological side of it, but the possible crime-solving side of it as well. And that was the moment that the idea for this novel came to me. Do you know, I've realised I can never remember what this one is called. I get a bit confused because I've often got lots of different ideas on the go. And this one is called Before the End. I've got a whole heap of titles, and depending on the idea I come up with, I just choose the title that I think might be a good fit for this book. So its working title certainly is Before the End, and the end of what, I don't know. Before the end of what, I have no clue, but that's part of the process, that's part of the fun. I don't have to have that worked out, and I know it's not set in stone, so I can change that anytime I want, so I'm not putting myself under that pressure to have that answer already. Okay, so that was my story spark. That was the reason I came up with this book. And why is it important to know that? It's you can come back to that when you get to that point in your story where you're fed up telling it, you're bored with it, you don't think it's going to work, you don't know why you're even writing this story anyway. You can come back to these couple of paragraphs and remind yourself, this is why I'm writing the story. That's why I love that subject. And that's why I'm going to keep on going. So go and write a couple of paragraphs about your story spark and why you're writing the book you are writing. All right, till